the ultimate guide to blockchain for beginners. Hey guys, welcome back to Crypto for Beginners. If you're new here, then make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. In this series, we cover everything crypto and blockchain related in simple terms. In today's video, we're covering the ultimate guide to blockchain for beginners. So if you want to understand what blockchain is, how it works, and why it even matters, then stick around. Before we get started though, let me ask you a question. You ever heard of something called blockchain? What about cryptocurrency or Bitcoin? Well, these two things are kind of related, but not exactly the same thing. And the best way I can describe them is like this. Think of blockchain as the technology in cryptocurrency as one of the many applications built on top of that technology. It's kind of like the internet. The internet is the tech, but email, Facebook and YouTube are all different apps built on top of that tech. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's start at the very beginning. Number one, what is blockchain? So I know we already gave you a basic overview of what blockchain is in the intro, but now I am gone. Now I explain it in a little bit more detail. Basically, blockchain is a digital ledger that's secure, transparent and decentralized. Maybe those words mean more to you than they do to me. So let me try to explain it another way. Imagine you and your friends are writing in a Google Doc together. You could add text, and every single person who est in the Google Doc can see your changes in real time. That's pretty much what blockchain is. A bunch of people have a shared record of data that automatically updates whenever one person changes it, and that data is stored in blocks. Quick pause here. I want to talk about some really important words that I just threw out there. We said data, we said block, and we also said the word blockchain. Now, blockchain is actually just another word for the chain of blocks. The official name is distributed ledger, but I'm just going to go ahead and call it blockchain because, well, that's what everyone else calls it. Anyways, each individual block contains a set amount of data, and each block has a unique fingerprint known as a hash. But wait, it gets a little bit more complicated. Each block also stores the hash of the previous block, making a permanent record of the entire history of the data. This means once a block is added to the blockchain, it can never be removed or altered. Also, I forgot to mention that this is done by computers called nodes. Nodes basically validate and share the data across a network of computers instead of relying on one central server. So let's recap. Blockchain is basically a shared Google Doc that everyone can see, no one can mess with, and everything is updated in real time. No. 2. Why is blockchain revolutionary? To put it simply, blockchain is revolutionary because of 3 characteristics: decentralization, trustless transactions, and transparency. Let's talk about decentralization first. Today we rely heavily on centralized institutions like banks to store our data and manage our money. But with blockchain, the data is distributed across multiple nodes on the network. This makes it much harder for anyone to corrupt or manipulate the data. Next, blockchain enables trustless transactions. With traditional finance, a third party is always required to verify a transaction, but with blockchain, transactions can be verified by the entire network of nodes. This makes it much faster and cheaper to complete a transaction, and it also eliminates the need for a middleman entirely. Last but not least, blockchain is completely transparent. All transactions are public and can be viewed by anyone. This promotes accountability and makes it very difficult for anyone to engage in any fraudulent activities. If all of this sounds like a lot to take in, don't worry. I would be confused too if I first heard this stuff. It's definitely hard to wrap your mind around, but we promise it'll all make sense eventually. If you're enjoying this video so far, please consider hitting the like button because it really helps us out. No. 3. How does blockchain work? Okay. So remember earlier when I compared blockchain to a Google Doc? Well, I think it's time to bring that example back. Remember how we talked about how everyone in the document can see changes in real time? Well, that's true for blockchain as well. In fact, that's one of the reasons blockchain is so amazing. Everyone involved in the blockchain network sees the exact same data at the same time. However, blockchain isn't just a Google Doc. There's a little bit more going on behind the scenes. Each block contains data and a unique hash. The hash is basically a digital fingerprint for that block, and every block also contains the hash of the previous block, creating a permanent record of the entire history of the data. Now let's talk about adding new blocks to the blockchain. When someone wants to add a new block, they broadcast their transaction to the entire network of nodes. The nodes then validate the transaction and add the block to the blockchain. This process of validating transactions and adding blocks to the blockchain is called mining. Miners use special software to solve complex math problems, and the first miner to solve the problem gets to add the next block to the blockchain. Once a block is added to the blockchain, it cannot be removed or altered. This makes blockchain extremely secure and tamper-proof. So let's do a quick recap of what we learned. Each block contains data and a unique hash. The hash of the previous block is also included in the current block, creating a chain of blocks. The process of adding blocks to the blockchain is called mining. No. 4. What is blockchain used for? So by now you probably understand what blockchain is and how it works, but you might be wondering why it even matters. Well, blockchain is used for a lot of things, but I'm going to cover 4 examples in this video. First, blockchain is used for recording transactions. This is probably what you've heard it being used for the most. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum use blockchain to track transactions. Second, blockchain can be used for supply chain management. This means that products can be tracked as they move through the supply chain. For example, Walmart is using blockchain to track the movement of food from suppliers to stores. Third, blockchain can be used in healthcare to secure patient records. This would make it easier for patients to share their medical history with doctors and hospitals. And lastly, blockchain can be used to create digital identities. This could make it easier to vote and ensure that only eligible citizens can vote. No. What are some common blockchain terms that every beginner should know? In order to understand how blockchain works, it's important to know a few key terms. First, there's cryptocurrency, which is a digital currency that uses cryptography for security. Next, there's a wallet, which is basically a software program that stores your. Then there's a miner or a validator, which are the people who verify transactions and add blocks to the blockchain. Next, smart contracts, which are basically programs that can automatically execute an agreement between 2 parties. Next, public blockchains, which are blockchains that anyone can view and participate in. And private blockchains, which are blockchains that are only viewable by a select group of people. Lastly, consensus mechanisms, which are ways for the network to agree on the data stored in the blockchain. The most popular consensus mechanisms are proof of work and proof of stake. Number 6. What is the difference between blockchain and crypto? So earlier in this video we mentioned that cryptocurrency is one of the many applications built on top of the blockchain technology, but some people still get confused about the difference. So let me explain it again. Blockchain is the tech. Cryptocurrency is one of the many applications built on top of that tech. This means that blockchain can exist without crypto, but crypto cannot exist without blockchain. For example, supply chains can use blockchain to track the movement of goods, and even governments can use blockchain to store important records. Number 7. Why does blockchain matter? In today's world, it seems like we're becoming more and more digital every day. We use the internet for almost everything, from shopping to banking to socializing. But despite all of this, there are still a lot of people who don't have access to basic financial services. This is known as being unbanked, and it affects millions of people around the world. Blockchain can help solve this problem by providing financial services to anyone with an internet connection. Anyone will be able to buy, sell, and trade digital assets without the need for a bank. But it's not just about financial services. Blockchain can also help us own digital assets in a more secure way. For example, NFTs or non-fungible tokens can be used to represent ownership of digital art. They can also be used to represent ownership of physical assets like real estate. Ultimately, blockchain is about giving people more control over their own data and assets. It's about creating a more transparent and accountable world. So I hope now you have a better understanding of what blockchain is and why it matters. Number 8. What are my final thoughts, and how can I get started? I think blockchain is one of the most exciting developments in technology in a long time. It has the potential to change the way we do things, from banking to voting to owning digital assets. There's a lot of opportunity in this space, and I think it's just getting started. If you're interested in getting started with blockchain, I recommend starting small. Learn about it, experiment with it, and don't invest more than you can afford to lose. But most importantly, have fun. Blockchain is a new and evolving technology, and there is a lot to learn. Be patient with yourself and enjoy the journey. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something new. If you did, please leave us a like and comment below. Tell us what part of blockchain was most confusing to you before this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more beginner-friendly crypto videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.